Hello, Grill fam. You're watching The Hill with April Ryan, where we bring you the latest in politics every week. With the anticipation of gatherings like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Kwanzaa, and New Year's, there's a concern in the White House for a spike in COVID, particularly for those who haven't been vaccinated or received their booster shot. I spoke with Dr. Anthony Fauci in his last White House briefing before his retirement about masking and testing the day before a major event, as well as those booster shots.
We have multiple interventions and multiple actions we can take to protect ourselves. So there's a whole spectrum. Masking is one of them. Now, we're not talking about requirements or mandating. We're talking about if you're in a situation and each individual person evaluates their own risk and that of the risk of their family members, for example, like a person who's 25-year-old living alone versus someone who has a elderly parent or grandparent or someone who's immune compromised. First of all, everybody should be vaccinated and boosted with flu and with COVID. Whether or not you wear a mask, or another thing we shouldn't underestimate is testing. So when we're gathering at a family gathering for Thanksgiving or for Christmas or for any other holiday as we get into the winter, it makes sense that you might want to get a test that day before you come into a place in which you might be infected and spread it, or other people who might be there.
Let's stay in Washington, D.C., where President Joe Biden delivered remarks on several key issues recently. I asked him what his administration plans to do over the next 2 years in efforts to combat inflation, especially in the Black community. He told me that he has increased home ownership, lowered gas prices, and plans to lower the cost of medicine for Black Americans.
What I can't do is I can't guarantee that we're going to be able to get rid of inflation, but I do think we can. But I am optimistic because we continue to grow and at a rational pace. We are not anywhere near a recession right now in terms of the growth, but I think we can have what most economists call a soft landing. I'm convinced that we're going to be able to gradually bring down prices so that they, in fact, end up with us not having to move into a recession to be able to get control of inflation.
Now let's travel to Illinois, where Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx shared her thoughts on the Supreme Court and the possibility of affirmative action being rolled back.
I think right now what states need to be doing is looking at the affirmative action policies we have in place right now. And what we would recognize, I think, is that we still haven't done enough. So even as you talk about unwinding this policy, the fact of the matter is we haven't achieved equity or fairness or equal access already. And so the notion that what little mechanisms that we have right now that have been protected for so long, the taking of that away, the undermining, again, of all of our institutions. So right now it's time to take stock of where we already are and start developing strategies to figure out how we can, one, combat this on the legal front, but also on the practical front.
And let's come back to my home turf, Washington, D.C. and the White House, where President Biden took part in a White House tradition of pardoning the Thanksgiving turkeys earlier this week. This year he pardoned 2 turkeys, one named Chocolate, and I know you know the other name. That's right, Chip. While addressing a crowd on the South Lawn, he introduced the 2 large birds and made a few political quips.
At any rate, you know, we got to get on with this. First of all, the votes are in. They've been counted and verified. There's no ballot stuffing. There's no foul play. The only red wave this season is going to be a German Shepherd Commander knocks over the cranberry sauce on our table. That will cause... They are big turkeys, aren't they? My fellow Americans, please welcome the 2022 National Thanksgiving Turkeys, Chocolate and Chip. I tell you what, man. They can go wherever they want.
And businesses around the nation are gearing up to celebrate Small Business Saturday. This tradition takes place annually between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. In 2010, American Express created the holiday to promote small businesses during the Great Recession. And on Saturday, Black-owned businesses want to make sure you patronize them on Small Business Saturday. Support Black business. And as we're talking about Thanksgiving, the White House handed out this little treat, a cookie, to celebrate Thanksgiving with the White House press corps. Happy Thanksgiving. That's it for The Hill with April Ryan. We'll see you next week with the latest news and politics.